The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
He's outright, out loud, telling the American people that he is holding hostage everyone who's got a federal contract, everyone who wants to start, applying for their tax refund, everybody who works for air traffic control or for the corrections department in federal prisons or the parole board that is supposed to be keeping an eye on and having meetings with parolees. That did you see the Coast Guard? I couldn't tweet enough about this last night because I'm a service member, ex-service member. Obviously, I'm too old to serve, and I wish I could serve. I wish I could. I would do it again.
We appreciate the service of our troops, and I don't feel like people are counting the Coast Guard in it because our Coast Guard is amazing and they're very supportive of our country, and yet I feel like as a spouse, seeing it from the outside, I feel very forgotten during all of this.
If you could say something to the president, if you could talk to him, if you could talk to members of Congress tonight who may be listening about the shutdown, about the situation, what do you want them to know?
I think the first thing I would want them to know is that regardless of what side you play for, regardless of if you agree or disagree with the president, the Republicans, the Democrats, this is not an issue of border security at this point. I think it's an issue of funding one of our military branches. There are a lot of service members and a lot of spouses who work really hard. And for me personally, my holidays were very stressful. I thought about returning my son's Christmas gifts because of all of this. I would just like to tell to think about all of us. And even if the shutdown doesn't have a resolution in sight anytime soon, if they could please pass something that would at least fund the Coast Guard. If one of the people in charge could at least recognize, hey, this is a part of our military that's not getting paid and they depend on these checks, I would be very appreciative of that.
Wow. So the Coast Guard, can you imagine this? I'm sorry about that. That was Comcast. And then they say, direct message us. So I direct message them and I say, why is there no service here? Oh, it looks great on our end. Yeah, except not on our end. So he sends me a link. Go to the speed test. Are you freaking kidding me? Do you have any idea how much equipment here we have? He's telling me to go do a Comcast speed test. So anyway, I tweeted that out, and I always do at Comcast so that they can know. And this is what happens. So they tell you, do a speed test. We just had to reset everything because it's in, out, in, out, in, out. I feel like I'm being screwed by Donald Trump every which way. I blame him. Every which way. But anyway, so what we were saying is, how could this be an emergency? If he's holding it in his back pocket as a contingency, there is no such thing as a contingency emergency. Either your house is on fire or it's not. But if he's standing there looking at your house going, if I have to, I'll start a fire, then he is abusing his power. Then he is the arsonist. And that is what's going on. And last night I saw this, article. It was a document. They took it down. I just want you to know. The Coast Guard literally put up a 5-paged document to the members of the Coast Guard telling them how to deal with getting furloughed and not getting paid. Now, let's remember, the Coast Guard is essential if you're interested in interdicting heroin and cocaine and methamphetamine and fentanyl at sea before it ever even gets here, okay? I'm just saying, this is what he sat in the Oval and he said he cared about, it's a humanitarian and this is terrible and how many people die because of heroin overdose. Well, that's what the Coast Guard interdicts, okay? That's what they're there for. They sent a 5-page article out yesterday, the Coast Guard. This was official, a tip sheet on how to deal with being furloughed from CG Support, which is Coast Guard support. And they told the members of the Coast Guard, and you might wonder why, I don't know how much you heard me say before the internet went in and out, but the Coast Guard is paid by the Department of Homeland Security. They're not paid by the Department of Defense, as all the other branches of the service are. And that's why they're not getting paid. And so they sent out this tip sheet, and they basically told them to go babysit, which was the least offensive tip on the tip sheet. They told them to go dog walk. I swear to God, they told them to consider becoming a mystery shopper, and even lauded it as a great job. People go, what they say, retailers are dying to know how consumers receive their products. Go be a mystery shopper. Sign up and be a mystery. Oh my God, I got to tell. I know a woman who has a mystery shopping service. They don't. It's not going to support a family of four. I'm just saying. But to get by without pay, they also told them to sell their stuff online or in newspapers. Really? So you got to sell your heirlooms? You got to sell your refrigerator now? So basically, whether or not the Coast Guard, who, by the way, has to work, just no pay. This is indentured servitude, by the way. This is a form of chattel slavery, of course. And these people have to go risk their lives at sea to interdict these cartels' shipments into this country for no pay. But they're supposed to, in their spare time, have a garage sale. A lot of them live in apartments, just want to say. They don't have garages. I don't know. So, but the well-being of our military members is dependent upon the price of used appliances now. Sell your refrigerator. Why didn't they just tell them go steal a shopping cart and go get scrap metal and bottles and cans and bring them to the recycle center? You know, they pay like pennies per pound. Everything that you could think of was on this list except panhandling and shoplifting. That's what this president is doing to the armed services. And you know, when he was down here on Thanksgiving, remember he needed a photo op with military? Guess where he went? He went to the Coast Guard. And he gave them sandwiches. They brought them Melania and sandwiches. And of course, you know, she's the most bullied woman in the world, she says, right? But they actually had, I mean, you're talking about 8,500 civilians in the Coast Guard, and 6,400 of them are on indefinite furlough. And the rest, the 2,100 that work off of our coasts, and I told you, in Costa Rica, they don't have a military. They rely on their Coast Guard, period. End of story. That is what they have. They have Homeland Security, and they interdict the drugs at sea. And from my house down there, not during the day, but at night, I can see the lights of the Coast Guard way, way out. You know, like 30 miles out. I can see, that's how good my view is, but I can see them working out there, and they have like 6 to 8 boats all the time patrolling off the coast to keep drugs from coming in. And that's what we do. That's what we do. What, are you supposed to build a wall now on the sea? And these people, I swear to God, they're not getting paid. It's just so ridiculous. Babysitting, dog walking. You know, I mean, it's 41,000 active duty Coast Guardsmen. 41,000 of them are working without pay. So I guess they're supposed to be doing dog walking and babysitting gigs on their own time. You know, in their free time, when not interdicting drug cartel shipments, you know. This is so sick, from food stamps to IRS refunds. The Trump White House, they're trying to mitigate the impacts of a shutdown by saying we're all unified and the Republicans this and it's the Democrats' fault. And, you know, people who don't read newspapers and people who don't watch news but instead watch Netflix or play video games, which is a large part of this country, who does not get any information about what's going on. They're all saying, well, all we care about is we just want to get paid. We don't care who's right and who's wrong. Oh, really? So you have a president who is the crisis, and they don't even know that he's doing this to them because he said he would be proud to take the mantle. And now he's sitting there pretending that it's, another party or it's other people that are doing it. He wanted a shutdown. He said he would own it. He wouldn't blame anybody.
I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck. So I will take the mantle. I will be the one to shut it down. I'm not going to blame you for it. I will take the mantle of shutting down. A possible shutdown if we don't get the wall money. And I think probably if I was ever going to do a shutdown, this would be a very good time to do a shutdown.
The president, for his part, telling Politico he would
totally be willing to shut down the government over border wall funding?
If it was up to me, I'd shut down government. I would have no problem doing a shutdown.
President Trump's tweet that he, quote, would be willing to shut down the government.
Even if we have to think about closing up the country for a while, we're going to get the wall. We have no choice.
We'll
close down the country.
Close it down.
Change it. Let's have a shutdown. We'll do a shutdown, and it's worth it for our country. I'd love to see a shutdown if we don't get this stuff taken care of.
What stuff?
Then shut it down. We'll go with another shutdown. I would shut it down over this issue. I can't speak for everybody at the table, but I will tell you, I would shut it down over this issue. So would I shut it down over this issue? Yes. Believe me, if we have to close down our government, we're building that wall.
President Trump tweeted saying our country needs a good shutdown to fix this mess.
A good shutdown. As opposed to what? A bad shutdown?
If there is a shutdown, I think it would be a tremendously negative mark on the President of the United States.
Senate Democrats. Now, let me tell you what is going on. Okay, Congress is now, the House is in the hands of the Democrats. Why? How did the House get in the hands of the Democrats? How did that happen? Well, Trump ran on the stupid wall. Trump actually ran on the caravan. After we saw women and children being separated, this country said 75% of us, immigration is a good thing. Stop doing that crap. That's disgusting. And women were outraged, and fathers were outraged that little toddlers were being taken from their parents and put in cages, and that they weren't calling their aunt or their uncle, even though the little child knew the phone number and was crying hysterically, and that people were separated, families were broken up. America said, this is not America. This is something else. This is, very reminiscent of movies that we used to see in black and white, and we don't like it, and we're getting rid of him. And so he wasn't on the ballot, and so we voted for Democrats for the House. That is why after the election, he said nothing about the border anymore. You didn't hear about caravans, and you didn't hear about immigration, and you didn't hear crisis, and you didn't hear humanitarian, and you didn't hear he didn't have beds, and you didn't hear any of it. And then all of a sudden, Mueller got really, really close. Mueller indicted Natalia Veselnitskaya, and Mueller is actually circling in on Oleg Deripaska and Manafort and Mnuchin, who was... Let's not forget what Steve Mnuchin was before he was our Treasury Secretary. Okay, Manafort was the campaign manager for the Trump campaign. We all know that. But Mnuchin, the one that likes to take pictures with his wife with at least $100,000 worth of really ugly accessories, that Birkin bag is gross. Put it down. Put it down. Go get a YSL if you have that kind of cash. A boy bag, Chanel. Stunning. Birkin. Sounds like Merkin. Doesn't even have fur on it. I don't understand why people love that bag. I don't get it. I don't understand it. However, I digress. So he takes pictures with his wife. She's wearing black leather gloves holding the money at the Treasury. Yeah, but what was Steve Mnuchin before he was taking pictures with his wife at the Treasury holding sheets of $100 bills? He was the Trump campaign finance chairman. And now all of a sudden, he's been called to Capitol Hill today. Why? Because the House would like to ask him questions behind closed doors in, a secret setting. To ask him, what the hell, why did you take sanctions off of Paul Manafort's adversary who was suing him for $19 million, Oleg Deripaska? We just found out that Manafort was providing him with internal polling data, which would tell Vladimir Putin exactly where to target his voter suppression efforts against Hillary Clinton, identify all Bernie Sanders supporters to get them to stay home and get them all agitated that Bernie Sanders was treated badly by the Democratic National Committee, which is true, and that they should not vote for Hillary Clinton. They shouldn't vote at all, or they should vote for Jill Stein. And in 3 states, by less than 80,000 votes, Trump manages to win the Electoral College in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. That's what happened. Now, how did the Russians know exactly how to pinpoint? 2 ways. They stole the DNC documents, which gave the strategy that the DNC was going to employ. And 2, Paul Manafort gave the Russian intelligence agent, Konstantin Kilimnik, the internal polling data that the Trump campaign had to make himself whole with Oleg Deripaska, a guy who I believe purchased this plan from Paul Manafort years ago and was calling in the payment and saying and suing him in the Cayman Islands for and Manafort was $19 million in debt, and he couldn't pay a Russian oligarch. And I think he got like really, really scared for his life. And so he joined the Trump campaign, worked for free, and gave internal polling data. And Trump's loving it. The DNC, they have all the documents, and they are systematically at key moments dumping documents. And Trump's on the campaign trail, and he's saying that, he loves WikiLeaks and it's all rigged anyway and blah, blah, blah. And the Russians are playing on the rigged thing and telling him it was all rigged, but it was rigged against Bernie Sanders, and it was rigged against, the whole democratic system, and you were cheated and stay home, and it's Bernie or bust, and burners for this was and then suppressing the African American vote by saying, Hillary Clinton and her crime bill, and she called young black boys predators. She's no better than they. Doing all. How did they get the information? How did they know to a man? Well, they also hacked into the voter registration rolls. They also hacked into the voter rolls, and they knew just who should not vote? Who should be, scrubbed from the voter registration rolls? Oh, my God. Collusion. It was a massive freaking conspiracy. And the Trump campaign was obviously part of this conspiracy, and now we know. So Manafort's closing in on Trump, and so now Trump, all of a sudden, I got to bring up the border wall. No, why? I need my base. Al-Qaeda's got to get out there, and they have to be armed to the teeth. They have to use their Second Amendment rights if they come after me, if they impeach me, and Mueller's report is coming, and oh my God, it's going to be devastating. I need a new attorney general who will suppress that report. I need a new attorney general who will say that it's national security is at risk if you release this report, or presidential, executive privilege. Remember this, the Democrats also have legal weapons in their quiver, and they're using all the tools at their disposal, to open up the government. You know what they did yesterday? They voted separate bills now, separate. They had a package of 6 that would fund Treasury and Ag and all the other, everything except DHS, which wouldn't help the Coast Guard, I'll admit, because they won't sign off on DHS, anywhere in the Senate until he gets his stupid wall. But the House, with 8 Republicans helping them, passed all these funding bills for the other unrelated parts of government so we could get our food inspected, we could get our water inspected, so that we could have FEMA money go to California. We could have, a normal functioning government, except for Homeland Security, which they said by February 8th, we should finish negotiations on that and then fund it, right? Somehow. Well, they passed those bills yesterday to fund each and every part of the government that is currently shut down. And Mitch McConnell, a Republican, everybody who doesn't pay attention, refuses to introduce any of those bills that his Senate 12 days ago voted for almost unanimously. Almost unanimously, they voted for the same mirror image legislation. The House is only voting on the Senate's language. They didn't change a comma or a period, so it doesn't have to go to conference or anything. They just separated the package of 6. They tried to pass the package of 6 that the Senate passed, exactly as is. They passed it, and Mitch McConnell wouldn't introduce it. So now they're like piecemeal. They go, all right, could you open Treasury? Could you open this? Could you open it? No, Mitch McConnell won't take it up. So if you are wondering who did this and who says we need a good shutdown, this is Trump's 3rd government shutdown. This is the longest one ever now. Ever. Makes 95 look stupid. But in 95, we didn't have a Department of Homeland Security. In 95, we didn't have, the fencing. 95, we didn't have, ICE. ICE came into existence in 2003. ICE is new. The Department of Homeland Security is new. These are all Bush gigantic government creations. And they won't fund it. They just won't. They're telling everybody, and he's out there saying everybody supports him. No one supports him. Most people don't know who to blame, which is sad because he wanted this, he made this happen, and now he's sitting there saying, I can hold an emergency in my back pocket and declare it whenever I want. I think the courts will differ. I don't think the courts are going to agree that for the first time in American history, in all 200 some odd years, that a president is a king. And if he can't work with Congress to get funding for a...
Mary had a little lamb. The fall.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
It's cold out here, and the temperature wasn't much warmer in the Situation Room. Our meeting did not last long.
Well, the president walked into the room and passed out candy. It was true.
Candy?
I want to turn the floor over, the president said, to Speaker Pelosi and Schumer. Tell us what offer you have. She began to argue whether we even have a crisis or whether facts are true.
Right.
Turned to Schumer again, who said we just have to open the government up.
Right.
I asked him to open up the government.
Yes.
That tomorrow so many people will have trouble paying their mortgages, paying their bills, dealing with situations when they don't get paid. And I said, just why won't you do that? We'll continue to discuss. We're willing to discuss anything. And he said, if I open up the government, you won't do what I want.
Oh, my God.
That's cruel.
It's also
I saw
not
Schumer
an
continue to raise
emergency.
his voice. The president then turned to the speaker and politely asked her, okay, Nancy, if we open the government up in 30 days, could we have border security? She raised her hand and said, no, not at all.
Border security?
The president calmly said, I guess you're still not wanting to deal with the problem.
He sort of slammed the table. And when Leader Pelosi said she didn't agree with the wall, he just walked out and said, we have nothing to discuss.
Oh, my God.
So he said it was a waste of his time.
I don't recall him ever raising his voice or slamming his hand.
Yeah, but you're a liar, and everybody in your party is a liar. And you're blaming the Democrats for what your president said we needed, which was a good shutdown. And he said it 25 times. He said it over and over and over and over. And we all have the videotape of him sitting in the Oval Office with Nancy and Chuck a couple of days ago saying that he would take the mantle and he wouldn't blame anybody for it. And then selling his people at a rally that we needed a good shutdown for months, building up to the midterms. And then he lost the midterms and he dropped the whole subject of a caravan and he dropped the whole subject of a crisis and it wasn't an emergency anymore. And then yesterday they said, well, he went in and he brought them candy. He brought them candy. He brought Butterfingers and M&Ms is what he did. So you have a president of the United States who attended a meeting, passed out candy, demanded $5 billion for a stupid wall, got told no, slammed his hand on the table, and then walked out like a child. It wouldn't be any more childish if he took the candy back. And they never said. I don't know if he did or not. Now he's denying he slammed his hand on the table. This is the big point of contention. Obviously, the government is shut down. Obviously, food is not getting inspected. Obviously, you have people all over this country who work at the IRS in Ogden, Utah, who aren't going to work. I told 1 in 8 people that work at the IRS are actually working at the IRS, and those are the IT people, and that means that they're working with less than 15% of their employees. I'm working with less than 15% of my paid-for internet. And this guy, oh man, I should show you on my phone. Oh, because everything I'm direct messaging with Comcast, and I'm writing to him, and he says, he goes, because I wrote him, I said, dropped again, lost all our callers. It's a talk show. This stinks. And then I said, up again, dropped again. We're down. Texted him again, down. And his response to me, his name's JV. This is definitely the JV team over there. He said, when you say down, do you mean you're unable to connect at all or you're seeing your speed decrease? On our end, it shows your modem has been online for the last 42 minutes. I said, yes, we reset our modem 42 minutes ago. No internet now. Speed has been up and down all day. Can't connect at all now, but TV is on. Then I told him, TV is off. Phone is out. Triple play, triple fucked, I said. Shots fired. And then he says, are you attempting to connect via Wi-Fi or using Ethernet? I go, Ethernet, this is a broadcast studio. And then I said, we're up right now, but it keeps going out. And every time you disconnect us, we have to reset all of our equipment. And his response is, would it be okay for me to attempt provisioning your modem? It will take you offline. If it's not a good time, we can postpone until a better time. So I would like to go to fiber optic is what I would like to do. But it would cost us a ton of money because everything has to be reprogrammed. Everything. Because right now it's programmed to receive cable. Anyway, I'm trying. We're staying here. We're plowing through. I want you to get the information you need today. Okay, so just in case something happens during the break and the JV team over there at Comcast can't figure it out without provisioning my modem, I just want you to know Michael Cohen has agreed to testify in front of the House Oversight Committee, chaired now by Elijah Cummings, who has been unbelievably good in this all throughout, even when he was in the minority, on February 7th. Publicly. And he says that he will testify to the entirety of Mr. Trump's business. Everything that he knows. So there's that to live for, even if you're not getting paid. Oh, wait, you have to sell your TV. Sorry. Yeah.
Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
Oh, everybody. This is someday. An idiot boy went to the border today. He went to McAllen, Texas today. And before he left, he had a press gaggle. And he gaggled and Googled and found that he literally told the press today. No, I'm playing this. He literally told the press today that when he said Mexico would pay for the wall, he didn't mean that they would actually pay for the wall. He meant that he would extract payment from them somehow. I'm guessing this is why he took his lawyer down to the border, to make a demand for payment from Obrador, the new president of Mexico, right? I mean, this is just so sick. He's
just a couple of things, because I know the fake news likes to say it.
Fake news.
When during the campaign, I would say Mexico's going to pay for it. Obviously, I never said this, and I never meant they're going to write out a check. I said they're going to pay for it. They are. They are paying for it with the incredible deal we made called the United States, Mexico, and Canada USMCA deal. It's a trade deal. It has to be approved by Congress.
And ratified by those two countries.
Will be, other than maybe they even hold that up because they want to have, they want to do as much harm as they can. Only because of the 2020 presidential election. So Mexico is paying for the wall indirectly. And when I said Mexico will pay for the wall in front of thousands and thousands of people, obviously they're not going to write a check, but they are paying for the wall indirectly many, many times over by the really great trade deal we just made. Congress has to approve the deal.
He's such a liar. Not just Congress has to approve the deal, which they've never taken up. That's number one. Number two, it has to be ratified by the two countries that he said he made a deal with. Canada hasn't signed up. Mexico didn't. Nobody did it. And listen, if Walmart gets a break with exports into Mexico, how in the world does that translate into $5 billion as a down payment for a $25 billion boondoggle called a stupid steel slat fence, which it now is? He kept saying big, beautiful concrete wall. Now he's down to it's a steel slat fence. It still costs. A steel costs more than concrete. Poured concrete and concrete planks, that costs less than steel, a steel wall. That's number one. So when they said the concrete wall would cost us about 25, I've seen all kinds of estimates because he doesn't have a plan. Okay, there's no design. There's no plan. So OMB and GAO, nobody can, score it and say, they're just saying, 600 and something miles. That's 25 billion, low ball. But he's not submitted anything. Nothing at all. Now the House, obviously, and the Senate have voted on various plans. Do you remember not too long ago, Dianne Feinstein was sitting in the conference room. They were sitting in the, with everybody. And she said, what about a clean DACA bill? He goes, yes, we should do the clean DACA bill. That's what we should do. And then we could deal with border security. And, what's his name? Mark Meadows or whatever, the douchebag that's always there, standing there. He goes, whoa, wait, Mr. President, wait. You don't know what you just agreed to. He goes, no, I do. I know. No, you don't understand what she just said. She wants a clean DACA bill. Yes, let's do it. And then he blew up that deal. Then they offered him, with that deal, they offered him $25 billion. This is just so bizarre. Okay? This is so bizarre. I got to tell you, the night that he sat in the Oval, and I told you he wasn't going to declare a national emergency because he's too lazy. He's too lazy and he's chicken. He's a mother plucker. Is what he is, or a mother clucker, whatever you want to call him. But, he's at a meeting, and he tells them one thing, they leave, they pass it, then he says, I'm not going to, I don't like that. Mitch, kill it, I don't want, the Senate unanimously voted to keep this government open, sent it over to the House. The House didn't do jack crap on it until the last day of the old House, right? And then the new House came in, and the first day, they passed exactly what the Senate passed. And Mitch McConnell won't bring it up for a vote because he doesn't want the president to have to veto a funding bill for the government. Because right now, they're polling, and the Russians know too. Their polling is telling them that people don't know who to blame, which is sick. Because he said 1,000 freaking times already. He wants a good shutdown. He needs a shutdown. He would shut it down over the stupid wall. That he would, take the mantle. That he would own this shutdown. I won't blame you, Chuck. I won't blame you. And people still don't know that Mitch McConnell is sitting, his disgusting, wrinkly nads is sitting on top of funding bills to pay people for their work in this here country, and that the Coast Guard is sending out tip sheets to babysit and give music lessons, swear to God, and become a mystery shopper or sell your stuff. Sell it. Sell it on the internet. Sell it in a newspaper. Have a garage sale. These people don't have garages. This is unbelievable. And then he said today, they asked him, because I don't know if you saw the photo or not, but there's a photo. Go to NBC, okay? NBC News has a photo of one of the president's prototypes. This one happens to be the steel slat prototype. He commissioned all these prototypes. He ordered them built, right, by various companies. They're in San Diego, these prototypes. You've seen them, right? And he ordered a steel slat one to be created. And it was created, and they were testing it for durability and for whether or not it's penetrable. And guess what DHS found out? They found out that with common tools, ordinary tools, you could saw right through it. And they did. They asked the people who are in charge of, DHS. There it is. Thank you very much. There you go. They used an ordinary saw, you could see in several places. And not only were they able to do it there, but to the right of it, they were able to the left of the hole that you're looking at right there, they could saw right through it. Well, they asked the president, what about that, Mr. President? They sawed right through your freaking stupid, impenetrable, 100% reliable, nobody's getting through that sucker wall. They were able to use common tools and saw through it. He said that wasn't my wall. That was W's wall. or Obama's wall. That was other presidents' wall. No, this was his freaking prototype. I swear to God.
If we don't make a deal, I mean, I would say 100%, but I don't want to say 100% because maybe something else comes up. But if we don't make a deal, I would say it would be very surprising to me that I would not declare a national emergency and just fund it through the various mechanisms. And by the way, there's more than one mechanism. There's various mechanisms. And the lawyers tell me 100%. It would be nice if we could make a deal. But dealing with these people is ridiculous. I don't know if they know how to make a deal. We need, and I'll tell you what, a lot of Democrats, I was looking at numbers, a lot of Democrats agree, Steve, we need national security. And the only way you have it, is you have to have a strong border. And the only way you have a strong border is you need a wall or you need some kind of a steel, go ahead, corridor.
There are pictures this morning.
Steve, you need a steel barrier. And if you don't have a steel barrier or a concrete wall.
What good is a steel wall if they can saw through it?
Well, that's a wall that was designed by previous administration.
No!
There's nothing that can't be penetrated, but you fix it. But it's a very difficult thing to do. But that's a wall, and they have other walls. We have many walls under consideration. Even concrete. There's acid that can go through concrete.
Oh, my God.
But what you do is you fix it. And it very much limits. It's very, very hard. The wall that we're doing is very, very hard to penetrate.
Wait a minute. The wall that we're doing, you just said that you didn't choose a wall. He just said we have many, many choices. I have all these prototypes. You know, you saw them. I built all these, and we haven't chosen. But, you just fix it. And the wall that we're building, what wall are you building? Zero wall has been built. He hasn't submitted a plan at all. He hasn't chosen the material for it. And he just keeps lying about it. And literally tomorrow, people will miss another paycheck. That's the sick, twisted thing. He is the national crisis. He is. Now, you know, the night that he was supposed to declare the national emergency and he chickened out, he didn't do it. Didn't do it because his lawyers have probably told him, here's what's going to happen, sir. You could declare a national emergency, but you still won't be able to spend the money because Congress will sue you. Yes, they will. They will take you to court and they will force you to produce numbers that are in complete and utter, it's in opposite land of what you're saying. You're saying you got a crisis at the border, and the numbers from your own State Department, from your own Department of Homeland Security clearly show that immigration and border crossings are at a 20-year low. So when it comes to the court, no one's going to be buying this the way that your Cult 45 members buy this. So be very careful what you do, because you could declare a national emergency, but you still won't be able to spend the money. And then on top of it, it's going to take years and years to build this stupid wall, even if you win the court cases and you're allowed to redirect money from the Department of Defense, for God's sake, to your stupid wall. Then they're going to take you to court down on the southern border because you are threatening eminent domain, and these ranchers have had this land in their family forever, and they ain't giving it up. So you got years and years of litigation on eminent domain. Now, he did say the other day that he was going to use eminent domain, that he would just take your land. I want to know where these Republicans, conservatives, libertarians, these people that just, I want to know where in the world you are. Landowners are preparing for the fight. They're already, they're doing it. They're doing it. I'm trying to find the cut with eminent domain in it. Big cut. Thank you. 29 it is.
As far as eminent domain, you're right, 100%.
Yeah.
Eminent domain is very interesting. But without eminent domain, you wouldn't have any highways, you wouldn't have any schools, you wouldn't have any roadways. What we're doing with eminent domain is in many cases we'll make a deal up front, and we've already done that. The Secretary has done a lot of that. And if we can't make a deal, we take
the land.
And we pay them through a court process, which goes actually fairly quickly. And we're generous. But we take the land. Otherwise, you could never build anything. If you didn't use eminent domain, you wouldn't have one highway in this country. You have to use eminent domain. It's actually something you don't want to use it, but if you're going to do a stretch, as an example, on pipelines and other things that go, you have to use eminent domain. Otherwise, you'd never be able to buy the land. If we had one person that wouldn't sell us out of hundreds, just one, it only takes one, then we wouldn't be able to build proper border security because we'd have that big opening that I was talking about.
Oh, my God.
So what happens is some are paid up front. You make a deal up front, and we're willing to do that in all cases. And when they're unwilling to make a deal, which also happens, then you go to court. But in the meantime, we're able to build the border security. So I think it's a fair process. I think it's a process that's very necessary, but I think it's fair.
But that couldn't that hold up your wall?
No, it's not going to hold it up because under the military version of eminent domain and under actually Homeland Security, we can do it before we even start. Now, a lot of times we'll make a deal. And I would say a good percentage of the time we're making deals. We have already purchased a lot of it. You know, a lot of the money that we've been given has already been spent on purchasing the land, the right-of-way. It's essentially a right-of-way.
Wait. So last week he told us a lot of the money had been spent on construction, but he didn't pay the construction workers because you don't pay until the job is finished. Now he's saying that a lot of the money, which was given to him by the Congress, listen, the House of Representatives, the Senate, 114th. Let me tell you, Democrats did vote in the Senate. He needed 60 votes. He got 60 votes. What? Last time we gave him $1.3 billion. This year they gave him $1.3 billion. He had $2.6 billion given to him. So he says first that the money was spent on construction. We're already building the wall. He's got his Cult 45 members. He's got the maggots holding signs up that say, finish the wall. But he said he hasn't. I haven't paid them yet because you like to do the work first, then you give the money. Then you pay. If you like what they did. If you didn't, you don't pay them. This is what he said. Now he's saying, the money was spent buying the land. We already bought all the land. We bought the land. And if they don't want to sell their land, then we just take their land. We just take it. And it'll be very quickly court process. Let me tell you something. These ranchers, they are ready for him. They are not giving up their damn land. That is not going to happen. They are ready.
The border wall battle is getting noisier and nastier as property owners in South Texas face off against a federal government intent on seizing their land. Land needed for a portion of wall construction that was approved by Congress months ago. The $1.4 billion project has raised the ire of the Catholic Church and its neighbors along the Rio Grande River and could signal what lies ahead if the president's plans for more wall building go through. The La Lomita Chapel, the namesake for the city of Mission, Texas, happens to be in the middle of the already approved path. Building could begin as early as February if lawsuits don't stop at first.
Very quickly. No, he got money. He did get money. They gave him $2.6 billion so far, right? So he's asking for $5.6 billion more, or he's holding, our food safety. He's holding corrections officers. He's holding the Coast Guard. He's holding IRS workers. He's holding your tax refunds. He's holding your, everything. Everything is being held hostage by this man because he wants another 5.6. And then he's going to have to use eminent domain, which is going to cause them to fight in court even longer and harder. And then you have, the whole court fight that will go to the Supreme Court. It'll start in a district court, and it'll have to go to an appeals court, and then it'll have to go to a federal, all the way up, which takes time for him to use emergency powers to take money from the military. This is so sick. And why is this happening now? I'm telling you. Because Michael Cohen is getting ready to testify on Capitol Hill on February 7th. That's number one. Number two, the House Democrats have given the transcripts of, all the Junior. They want Junior, too. They want Junior really, really bad to come testify. Yeah, and they got Veselnitskaya and Manafort.
The Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Okay, my friends, you may think that this is a little white shack in the middle of Texas and it ain't a big deal, but this is the Catholic Church, and this is their land. And this padre right here, he's having none of it. None of it. Dime, padre.
Probably go either on top of the levee or right down at the base of the levee.
Father Roy Snipes, often donning a cowboy hat with his crucifix, is a Catholic priest in the Oblate Order, which has ministered in the valley since the 1840s.
We're here at the old Alameda Chapel, which is the kind of the mother church of our whole area.
The Catholic diocese does not want to sell this land or give it up, so it's suing the government, saying this violates Catholic teachings, the church's responsibility to protect migrants, as well as its First Amendment right of religious freedom.
This serenity and simplicity of the place would be ruined.
Much of the approved construction project will look like what you see behind me: asphalt, concrete, and massive steel ballards for a fence line. Though many in the valley say the price of this physical and visual immigration deterrent isn't worth the cost of heritage if the federal government takes private property by eminent domain.
Uncle Sam is going to impact that dramatically by eliminating all of these trees full of nests, eggs, baby birds, piling them up somewhere and burning them.
At the National Butterfly Center, the concern is what a wall and law enforcement zones will do to migratory birds and butterflies.
Oh, don't mess with these people.
You eliminate the plant that is the reproductive basis for the butterfly, and you eliminate the butterfly.
The center is a nature preserve and tourist magnet, and it's also suing to prevent the government from building here.
Whoops.
Director Mariana Trevino Wright says the end result will be a concrete federal footprint on wildlife. Nearby, the federal government has already surveyed what it would take from the Cavazos family's 64 acres.
Oh, yeah.
The wall itself? Yeah. It's not going to stop anything.
Many families like them have multiple heirs to their properties, so the total impact of land seizures is yet unknown. Construction may cut off access they have to the water they grew up fishing on. From the same river Father Roy uses to boat to work.
For God's sake, leave our chapel alone. You don't have to build a wall along this beautiful river. If you're the smartest and richest and most powerful people in the world, can't you think of something better than that?
The outlet missionary also rents land from the Cavazos family, so his own house and the community's house of worship could be behind a barrier too.
Oh, yeah, this isn't going to be fast or easy. You're not going to take on the Catholic Church. You're not going to take on ranchers that have been owning this land since the 18 and somethings. You know, it's not going to happen. It isn't going to happen. Last night I was tweeting back and forth with David K. Johnston because David K. Johnston finally, David K. Johnston is the New York Times Pulitzer Prize winning tax reporter. You know who he is, right? And he's been on our show a couple times. And I have a lot of respect for him. And he was wondering last night on Twitter if that episode of that old 1958 series, it's called The End of the World, and it is it's almost like Twilight Zone-y, where a guy comes into a little western town and his name happens to be Trump. And he tells the people of the town that only he can save them from the end of the world. And how's he going to do it? He's going to build a wall. It's so creepy. It's like the Simpsons had, predicted that Trump would be president in their cartoon. Well, this old, series, an old black and white 1950s series, had an episode called The End of the World. Go IMDb it, and you'll see. You could watch it. You could watch the whole episode if you want. And so David K. was like asking me, is that real? And I said, yeah, it's real. He goes, because it would be really easy for them to like dub the name Trump into that episode. I said, no, it really happened. It's totally real. That is what Trump is doing. Except the Catholic Church is going to have none of it. They're going to put all their, like I said, it may look like a little white house to you in the middle of nowhere. Oh no. And those ranchers, they're not going quietly into that good night. There's no way. So you're talking years to build this stupid wall. So trust me, he doesn't think he's going to be able to do it. That's number one. So why is he doing it? To distract us from the fact that Mueller is nearly done. Now starts the battle over who gets to see the report. And that is why next week, those confirmation hearings for the new Attorney General, William Barr, are going to be very important. Because like I said, the special counsel was not appointed by Congress like the independent counsel was during the Ken Starr era. Ken Starr gave his report to Congress because Congress was responsible for appointing Ken Starr under the independent counsel statute, a statute so heinous we don't even have it anymore. And so Ken Starr wrote a 400-page porn novel about William Jefferson Clinton's sexual peccadillos. It was, I'm telling you, it read like an Anne Roquelaure, Beauty and the Beast, The Taming of the Beast, Beauty's Punishment. I love those books. Oh, those are the best. You never read them? Go to Amazon right freaking now. Anne Roquelaure is Anne Rice, the Lestat author. That's her porn name. Anne Roquelaure. Beauty's Punishment, The Taming of Beauty. Oh, my God. There's a lot of oiling of bodies and slavery. It's very titillating. However, again, I digress. No, I'm telling you, that's why Ken Starr was able to publish that 400-page porn novel that told you everything that you never wanted to know about Bill Clinton's penis and where he put it and where he didn't, what was on the dress, and other things that he did with various utensils and cigars and all. Oh, but you see, Mueller was appointed by Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, because Sessions, the Attorney General, recused, right? And so the report goes to Rosenstein's office. But Rosenstein, if he should leave, which he says he's planning to, and he doesn't stay to shepherd the release of the report, but instead leaves middle to late February, and Mueller needs weeks to write this report, and obviously the grand jury's not done because he just extended it, then the report would go to either Bob Barr, the Attorney General, or should he recuse himself from all things Russia because he wrote his opinion in letters and published them to get Trump to hire him again at the Justice Department. So if he agrees with the Senate during his confirmation hearings that he should recuse himself from that matter, then it matters who the Deputy Attorney General is, and we don't know who that might be. But if it's a sycophant like Whitaker, you know that they're going to claim executive privilege or national security. Let me tell you a little rule that you will always remember, because this is very simple about executive privilege. You can't invoke it for criminal purposes, okay? If you're trying to cover up a crime, you don't have executive privilege. Also, if the grand jury knows what these witnesses said, that means somebody other than the president was involved in this evidence. And you can't invoke executive privilege that way either because of that. And if people who aren't in the administration gave testimony, then there is no claim of executive privilege because they gave testimony to somebody not the president. The only reason why there's executive privilege is so that the president is free to discuss things privately with national security figures, with lawyers, the White House counsel, regarding issues that concern the governance of this country. There is a crime fraud exception. The crime fraud exception means you can't invoke executive privilege because you've committed a crime or you're committing fraud and you're covering it up. That also would be abuse of power, and that would be litigated. That would go to the Supreme Court. And trust me, I don't care who's on the Supreme Court. Well, I shouldn't say that because they picked a president once in the year 2000. Just freaky. But normally, and I agree this is not normal, but normally the Supreme Court's got plenty of reasons to say that the president can't cover up a crime by invoking executive privilege. You just can't do it. So I got a feeling that we would see this report. And this report is going to be devastating. This report plus the testimony that Michael Cohen is about to give on the 7th of February in open session in the House, on the House Oversight Committee, public testimony that has to be credible and has to be reliable, or he will be charged with perjury again. And Mueller knows everything because he spent, 40, 50, 70 hours with Michael Cohen? So he can't go in public, swear an oath, and lie without penalty. He won't have immunity for lying. What he will have, likely, is immunity, transactional immunity to give honest testimony. And also the statute of limitations on a lot of the crimes have probably passed, but he will paint a picture of Donald Trump as a complete and utter fraud who laundered money for various mafia types, for various Russian mafia types, for various Russian oligarchs. This is going to be devastating. And that's why he's down at the freaking border today saying stupid things like, there's an emergency, but I'm not going to say that there is until I have to say that there is, meaning I can't get my way with Congress to fund my ridiculous third century solution to a 21st century problem. It's just, and you know what else we were going to talk about today? But obviously, we just had too many technical problems, which I apologize for. But, you know what? I just wanted to thank everybody for contributing yesterday. There's this one guy, his name is Dell. I won't give your last name because he asked me never to give his information to anybody about anything, okay? But he made a donation as if he was making a donation to a political candidate. He said he was going to give the maximum that he could give to a political candidate to me because he couldn't make himself give to any presidential candidate, so he gave it to me. And you know what the personal limit is. So he gave that to me, and I was like, that is amazing, because we sure did need it after, the Christmas was a big lull, and then we didn't come out of the gate very strong like we did last year for some reason, and I don't know why, because the news is like, it's better. It's better. It's closer to its fruition. Things are going to happen this year that you've never seen before, and quickly. And we will have a Mueller report. And we will see it. There might be some stuff redacted from it for national security purposes, but honestly, you're going to see what a complete and utter theft occurred in this country, and how it occurred with conspirators who were heading up the Republicans' nominee for president, and that it continues to this day. Just like the intel community testified, that it's still going on and that those Russian bots are still out there. I saw a bunch of them last night. I saw so many of them last night, and they love to call me ugly. And so I just, I go, ha. What does that have to do with the price of rice? First of all, I'm not ugly. Very few people are ugly, indeed ugly. Most people are very beautiful. All I have to do is smile, and suddenly you go, wow, that changed everything, right? Okay, so just saying. So I saw all the bots last night, and they're still out there. They're still out there. This is why I got hit with bots. I went to Donald Trump's Twitter feed, which I hate doing. I hate it, but I just wanted to help him solve his problem, because all the media is saying he doesn't have an off-ramp. He shut down the government. He wanted to shut down. He said he was responsible for the shut. Yes, all that happened. Then he got on TV. He lied to the networks. He lied to the cable news networks. He lied to everybody. And he said he was going to make news, and he was going to declare an emergency, and he was going to lay out his plan, and da-da-da. And, of course, he didn't. He didn't. He just propagandized even more, saying there was an emergency at the border, which he hasn't declared. And either it is an emergency that needs immediate attention, because emergencies need immediate attention by definition. Otherwise, they're not emergencies. They're problems. They're issues to be solved. They're things that require action to be taken. But they're not emergencies, and his emergency powers depend on an emergency. So that ain't happening. But I tweeted to him last night, why don't you just tell your base, hashtag Cult45, that the wall is already built? They will believe you because, like you, they don't read. And the bots came after me. And they're not like real people, because, it's so funny. And the way that they speak English is very tainted. It's very tortured. Whatever, and they always attack you on your beauty. whether or not you're beautiful. And, that you can't write a sentence. It's always grammar. And that was a perfectly written sentence, I must say. I'm a writer. I can write. However, and writers write. That is the difference. Almost everybody can write, but the difference between everybody and a writer is a writer writes. That's all. But I sent that out. I go, why don't you just tell them that the wall is built? It's finished. It's great. You know what I mean? Because the numbers at the border are so low. They're at a 20-year low anyway. That you could just say problem solved. They built the wall. It's done. They don't read. They're not going to go down there. They're not going to. And plus, you got a ton of fencing already there because of the 2006 Secure Fencing Act, which Democrats also voted for. And we built that. Yeah. So why doesn't he just do that, declare victory, call it a day, and go eat a taco bowl? And go on Instagram and show everybody. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense, except that he's doing this because Mueller is the one who built a wall. A big, giant, big, beautiful, statute-supported, reinforced by law wall around Donald Trump's fraud, which is his life. His whole life has been a complete sham. So, apologies. I don't know why I'm apologizing. I don't run Comcast, but apologies. I'm going to reach out to the JV team again and tell him he can now comment. Well, we have to put the podcast up for the premium payer. We will put the show up today because it was all recorded. So that's why, you'll get your premium podcast with no commercials on demand. We might owe you 10 minutes. Okay? But he can, once that's posted, JV, you can, co-opt my modem and fix it, for God's sake, for the love of Pete. But if you do support the show in a very big way, we could make the change to fiber optic. Of course, we'd have to come offline to do that. Buy a stinking podcast.